You know, when we think of ancient rituals, we often picture something mysterious and vague. But today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to treat Leviticus chapter 1 not just as scripture, but as a kind of technical blueprint. We're going to break down the precise, step-by-step process of the burnt offering to see what it can tell us about the people who practiced it.
So what did one of these burnt offerings actually look like? It's so easy to imagine a lot of smoke and mystery, right? But the text itself, well, it reads more like a super detailed instruction manual. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to pop the hood on that manual and look at the mechanics, the specific roles people played, and the honestly surprising logic behind the whole thing. So here's how we'll tackle it. First, we'll look at where these instructions even came from. Then we'll walk through the 3 different tiers of offerings, starting with the biggest and going all the way down to the smallest. And finally, we'll zoom out and see how all these pieces fit together into one really clever system. Okay, first things first, we have to start with the source code, the divine instruction itself, because before we can even begin to understand the nuts and bolts of the ritual, the text makes it crystal clear who's giving the command and who it's for. Right off the bat, the text establishes its authority. This isn't just some old tradition being passed down. No, this is framed as a direct communication, like a divine download of information from God to Moses. And check out the location, the Tabernacle, the absolute center of their community life. This tells you that what's about to be laid out is foundational, it's non-negotiable, and it's for everybody. So, what is a burnt offering anyway? Well, the key phrase here is entirely consumed. Nothing is kept back for the person offering it. Its purpose is twofold. First, you've got atonement, which is basically a way to mend the relationship with God. And second, it's meant to create what the text calls a sweet savor. Now, don't think of that as just a literal smell. It's more of a metaphor, a way of saying the act was done correctly and was pleasing and acceptable. And trust me, we're going to see that phrase again. All right, let's get into the mechanics, starting with the first and most valuable category of offering. This is the top tier, the big one, an animal from the herd. And this one really sets the pattern for everything else that follows. The requirements here are incredibly specific. It has to be a male bullock, but even more important, it has to be without blemish, meaning physically perfect. This sets up a core idea right away. You bring your absolute best. And just as critical, the text says it has to be offered voluntarily. This wasn't some kind of tax you had to pay. It was a willing, personal act. Now, when you look at the procedure laid out like this, you see this fascinating division of labor. Just look at how involved the individual person is. They're the one who puts their hand on the animal, they do the killing, they skin it and prepare it. The priests, well, their role is actually very specialized. They're like the guardians of the altar, handling the most sacred parts of the ritual, the blood and the fire. And after all those precise steps are followed, what happens? The text gives us the outcome. You can almost think of this phrase as the system's confirmation message, like getting a process complete notification. The physical actions have created the desired spiritual result. All right, next up, we have the middle tier, an offering from the flock. And this is important because it opens up the ritual to people who might not have been able to afford a big bullock. It makes the whole system much more accessible. So the animal changes, but notice what doesn't. The core principles are exactly the same. It still has to be a male, and you guessed it, it has to be without blemish. This is a huge insight, right? The standard of perfection stays the same whether you're bringing an expensive bull or a more common sheep. And as we look at these steps, you can see that pattern we spotted before is holding strong. The person making the offering is still very hands-on with the killing and the cutting, and the priests are still managing the altar. But then we get this new, almost shockingly specific detail. The animal has to be killed on the north side of the altar. I mean, the level of precision in this blueprint is just remarkable. And what's the result? The exact same phrase. The text repeats it, word for word. And that sends a really clear message. If you follow the blueprint, the result is the same, no matter if you bring a bullock or a sheep. It's the process that matters, not the price tag. And that brings us to the third and final category, an offering of birds. This is the most accessible tier of all, and it's what ensures that even the poorest person in the community could still take part in this absolutely central ritual. So now the offering is scaled way down, a turtle dove or a young pigeon. It's such a clear provision for people with different economic means. It's like the principle of inclusivity is baked right into the system's design. Okay, but this is where the whole system does a flip.
For the bird offering, the roles are completely inverted. The person bringing the offering is almost passive now. They just show up with the bird. Suddenly, it's the priest who does everything. The killing, handling the blood, the preparation, the burning. It's a massive shift, and it tells us something really important about how this system was designed to work for everyone. And for the third and final time, we see the result. A bullock, a goat, a pigeon, it doesn't matter. If the blueprint is followed correctly, the outcome is exactly the same. It's all about adherence to the process, not the size of the gift itself. Okay, so let's zoom out and look at the blueprint as a whole. When you see it all together, you realize this isn't just 3 different rituals. It's one single, cohesive system designed with this incredible, built-in scalability. This table just lays the whole system bare. Take a look at the offerer's main role column. It goes from being super active with the big animals to almost totally passive with the bird. And the priest's role does the complete opposite. It's just an elegant, logical, and surprisingly flexible structure. And across all 3 of these tiers, these core principles never change. The offering has to be perfect. The blood is handled by the priest at the altar, the whole animal is consumed by the fire, and the purpose is always, always the same: atonement, and achieving that state of a sweet savor.
So when you get down to it, this ancient text is so much more than a list of rules. It's a detailed blueprint for connection. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are our modern-day rituals? What are the personal blueprints that we follow step by step to find connection, to make things right, or just to create a little bit of meaning in our own lives?